According to the ancient book Shan Hai Jing, Xiangliu was a giant nine-headed snake monster. Xiangliu was the servant of Gong, the god of floods. After Gong rebelled against the heavenly ruler, he brought endless floods, and Xiangliu followed him, spreading destruction across the land. Wherever Xiangliu went, the land was poisoned, the water became undrinkable, and life became impossible. Xiangliu had 9 huge snake heads, and his body was as big as a mountain. When he moved, the ground shook. His 9 cold eyes scanned everywhere, sending shivers down people's spines. It was said that Xiangliu had the power to control water, creating floods to submerge everything. Each of his heads could also spit venom, which would make the land barren and lifeless once it touched the ground. Even the air would be filled with toxic fumes, making it impossible to breathe. Xiangliu symbolized destruction and was the nightmare of all people. Legend had it that whenever Xiangliu appeared, the ground shook and dark clouds gathered as if nature itself feared him. He was not just a monster, he was the embodiment of disaster. The pain he brought was not just physical, but also emotional, leaving people in despair. In the faraway wilderness, the wind howled and the sky was covered with thick, dark clouds. At the edge of a village, a few families kept their doors and windows tightly closed, and almost no one dared to go outside. On this abandoned land, the legendary 9-headed snake Xiangliu slowly approached. His enormous snake body moved through the forest, with his 9 heads weaving above the treetops, scanning everything with watchful eyes. A little girl hid inside her house, peeking out through a crack in the window. She saw a giant creature on the distant ridge, moving like a slow mountain. As Xiangliu got closer, a rotten stench filled the air, and it felt as if the entire world was slowly being poisoned by his toxic breath. The girl's mother hurriedly pulled her back and shut the window tightly, afraid that the monster's gaze would fall upon them. Xiangliu reached the edge of the village, and all 9 of his heads lowered at the same time, greedily sniffing the scent of life. He could sense there were living beings here, fresh souls to devour. His eyes shone with an evil light, and each head made low growling sounds, as if communicating with each other. They seemed to be competing for the first move. Finally, one of the snake heads suddenly rose, opened its huge mouth, and sprayed a thick stream of venom toward the center of the village. The venom hit the ground, instantly corroding the plants. The once green grass turned black and withered within moments. As the venom spread, the village well water turned murky, emitting a foul stench. Xiangliu's 9 heads let out a low growl. He moved forward, each step causing the earth to tremble. The villagers ran in panic, their cries echoing in the chaos. Meanwhile, far away, Yu the Great was working on controlling the floods. He had heard stories about Xiangliu. The 9-headed snake was not only a source of the flooding, but also the cause of the destruction of large areas of land. Yu knew that simply controlling the water would not eliminate the disaster. Only by defeating Xiangliu completely could he truly save the suffering people. Yu was a wise and brave leader. He deeply understood the suffering Xiangliu had brought to the people. So, he traveled to the affected villages, spoke with the villagers, and learned about Xiangliu's movements and the destruction he caused. Through his interactions with the villagers, Yu became even more determined to destroy Xiangliu once and for all. He began to collect all the information about Xiangliu, studying his movements and weaknesses. Yu discovered that although Xiangliu had 9 heads, they did not always act in unison, but often moved independently, which meant that sometimes they lacked coordination. After days of observation and study, Yu came up with a bold plan. He decided to use Xiangliu's dependence on water to lure him into a dry valley, where he would set a trap to seal him completely. He gathered his bravest warriors and set off for the place where Xiangliu was wreaking havoc, ready to face a fierce battle. One night, Yu and his warriors sneaked into Xiangliu's territory. They hid in the forest, holding their breath, watching Xiangliu's every move. Yu held his divine axe firmly, his eyes full of determination. He knew that this battle was about the lives of countless people, and there was no room for error. Xiangliu's 9 heads were alertly scanning around, as if sensing something unusual. Suddenly, one of the warriors accidentally stepped on a branch, making a slight cracking sound. One of Xiangliu's heads immediately turned toward the noise, opened its mouth, and spat a stream of venom. Yu quickly signaled to the others to scatter, drawing Xiangliu's attention. The warrior's bravery and coordination made Xiangliu's attacks seem chaotic for a moment. When Xiangliu finally noticed Yu and his team, all 9 heads rose simultaneously, letting out a deafening roar. Yu stood his ground. He led his warriors to split up and lured Xiangliu into the prepared valley. Xiangliu was enraged, with all 9 heads competing to attack in different directions, trying to eliminate the intruders. At the moment, Xiangliu was drawn to the center of the valley. Yu gave a loud command, and the warriors activated the mechanism. Huge boulders rolled down from all sides, trapping Xiangliu in the valley. Xiangliu let out an angry roar, his 9 heads twisting frantically as he tried to break free. But Yu gave him no chance. He raised his divine axe high and struck one of Xiangliu's heads with all his strength. The axe sliced through the night, glowing brightly. With a terrible scream, one of Xiangliu's heads was severed, and black blood gushed out, instantly corroding the ground. Yu and his warriors fought on without hesitation, cutting down each of Xiangliu's heads one by one. Xiangliu's massive body struggled in pain in the valley, his 9 heads gradually falling limp. Although Xiangliu was defeated, his poisonous blood had polluted large areas of land. The valley and the surrounding vegetation were all withered, and the air was filled with a strong stench of rot. Yu stood in front of Xiangliu's corpse, feeling heavy-hearted. He knew that although they had won the battle, the cost had been immense. Yu did not stop. He continued to lead his warriors to heal the land, poisoned by Xiangliu's blood. They dug new wells and diverted clean river water into the valley, trying to restore the area to a place where people could live again. Under Yu's leadership, the villagers began to rebuild their homes, rekindling their hope for life. From then on, although Xiangliu's shadow had not completely disappeared, the seeds of hope had begun to sprout in the land. People believed that as long as they stood united, they could overcome any disaster and once again welcome peace and prosperity.